Hello everybody and welcome to this video featuring Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier. Today we're going to be talking about console port and whether I think it's a good idea or not. Now before we get into this, I want to say that the opinions in this video are opinions. I am no more than the average player. The only difference is that I am going to put the camera in front of me to start the conversation so that you don't have to. As always, thank you for watching and make sure you like, subscribe, and follow my various social media accounts for the most up-to-date content. Now, I like to look at things from as many different angles as I can, not only so I have the most knowledge, but that way I can communicate my opinion best to you. For this question, is a console port a good idea? I broke it down into 3 different categories. Current state of the game, is a console port a good idea? Ideal state of the game, is the console port a good idea? And hypothetically, they release a console port, what are some of the things we could face? Now, something I don't want to talk about in this video is the debate between keyboard, mouse, advantage, disadvantage over controller, and so on. I have played cross-platform games, specifically shooters, and I've had this debate, and there's always going to be someone that says, I'm really good on controller, I'm really good on keyboard and mouse. And in this game alone, we already have 2 controller schemes, mobile and controller. So that conversation is already happening. Let's save it for another date, and let's get into today's content. Let's talk current state of the game and what I think would be the biggest hurdle we would face in the game now with a console port. I'm going to skip over bugs, crashes, and technical difficulties because I want to focus more on gameplay design, but also I feel like those issues feed into what I think the bigger issue is, and that is game population. In Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, we've seen both ends of the spectrum of a low population game. First, people were entering matchmaking and it would take 5-10 minutes, sometimes even hours to get into a match. From there, we saw a few adjustments, such as removing 2 servers, but we also saw an adjustment on adding more bots. Now, I should say, they didn't actually increase the number of bots, it's more likely they decreased the number of players needed to start a match. I am in full belief that a standard match needs just a single human player to start, and rank needs a number between 1 and 10, but the number is not very high. So we have the current state of the game, and unfortunately right now that is low population, which has given us the option of high queue times for good games or low queue times for more matches, but they're filled with bots. From that, we go back to the original question. In the current state of the game, is it good for a console port? In my opinion, no. A console port right now would just further divide the player base and potentially push more people away from this game. When I say ideal game state, I mean no consistent bugs or crashes, fully populated matches, and the only thing we debate is high-end competitive balance. So the way I approach this question is, there's a lot of different reasons why people are playing this game. For me specifically, I like to play competitive games, and more recently, I like to play competitive mobile games. There are some people here because they like battle royales and shooters, and there are some people here that are just looking for their Final Fantasy fix. Whatever the reason is, we all came here under one banner, and that is Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier. So what is the identity of this game? I would label it as the competitive mobile battle royale set in the Final Fantasy VII universe. To me, that means a game that delivers high-end competitive play that you can also take on the go with mobile. So let's bring all this information back to the question at hand, and that is console port a good idea? And at ideal state, I am torn, because I feel like the developers are going to have to choose the identity of this game. And is this a competitive game that I can take on the go? Or is this a game I want to sit down on my console and grind? Now, I'm aware that some people already do grind this game, and that is good, just like having people here for varying reasons is good. But eventually the developers will have to choose what direction to go. And that could potentially alienate one population. Or do they decide to balance it all? And that is the perfect segue into the next section. This last section is less of a question of is it a good idea to have a console port, and more of me asking you, the viewer, what you think is the best way they could implement a console port. For me, I see 2 different options. The first is they could upscale the mobile version, which could work on something like the Switch, but when you get up to the bigger consoles, you have people asking, why is this game locked at this FPS or this mobile resolution? And in the end, they're not going to want to play that game for very long. The other option is to build a console version from the ground up. But this brings in the question of crossplay and balance. And that includes, but not limited to, that question I asked earlier of keyboard and mouse versus controller versus mobile input. Now, personally, I would like to see them stick to the product they have at hand. I really like it, and I'm going to read it directly from the App Store. They say, join the ranks of Shurima's elite unit and high-octane battle royale shooter, infused with RPG elements from the Final Fantasy series. Choose a combat style such as warrior or sorcerer and eliminate your rivals by any means necessary, be it gun, sword, or magic. All that in a competitive game that I can take on the go sounds ideal in my opinion. But that's me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is a console port a good idea? I don't know. Let's find out together. As always, I am Mr. Koala, and thank you for watching.